Welcome to the show. I'm Doug Johnson, and this is The Business of Life. During each show, we highlight a local personality who might share with us some of their secrets for success. Today's guest is an artist, an entrepreneur, and an all-around great guy. Tony Roberson, welcome to the show.
Hello, Doug.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
It's a beautiful day in the city of Twinsburg.
It sure is. It sure is. So, Tony, share with us your backstory. You have had some exciting experiences, and why don't you tell us about some of those?
To start off with, I wasn't born in Ohio. Actually, I was born in Arkansas, but my parents moved here when I was a year old. So basically, I'm a Clevelander, but I was in Arkansas. So I just moved here. We just moved here from Arkansas. So been in Cleveland all this time. My parents decided they wanted to bring the family up here and raise them here. So it worked out pretty good. We really love the Cleveland area. So that's about it.
Well, now I've known you as an artist, but before that, and kind of during that period of time, you also worked for a manufacturer here in the community, and you were there for, what, 30 years?
Over 30 years,
over 30 years.
Yeah, Atlas Steel Products. But I did not start off as an artist. I actually started painting while I was at Atlas, just something I thought I could do.
Okay.
See, growing up, watching Bob Ross on television, that's what inspired me, because I would watch him and I'd get mesmerized, and I said, you know what, I'd like to do that. I wish I could do that, but I had no idea whether I could or not. So what I did was, one day my wife and I were out, and I decided I was going to make a commitment, and I spent $80 or so on a paint kit. Oil paint, and by spending that money, that made me want to do it, because other than that, I probably would have never done it. But I spent the money on the oil kit, and started watching more Bob Ross watches his techniques. Got a couple of books, and never really had a lesson. So I taught myself how to do that just by watching him and listening to him. Learned all the little things that he was doing, and from that, I saw that I had some kind of skill. There was something there. So that encouraged me to do the next one, and I could have brought my first original painting, and I didn't think about it, but I've got it in a frame at home, and it looks pretty bad, but I saw something in it. And I said, you know what, I think I can do this, and so that's what I did. I started doing more and more, and people were encouraging me and say, yeah, you got something there. And then all of a sudden people were like asking, was I interested in selling? I never thought about that. I really just wanted to do it as a hobby. So I'd have something to do other than just going to work and coming home and going to bed. And I got into that, and that made me, that's how my art career got started. I don't really call it a career. My art, I do that on the side as a hobby.
Well, I always, when I talk about art, think about painting. But you've been an artist in another dimension, shall we say. You're quite a musician.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
for about, I say about 10 or so years out of my life, I was a musician. I played drums in a band. We were kind of a rhythm and blues group. We did a lot of different things, but we did rhythm and blues. There are times we had to play a couple of country songs. And so we tried to do everything. The first group I was in was called Hot Chocolate. And it's not the group that you people might know that did You Sexy Thing. That we got the name, and we found out about them later. So we had to change our name to 7 Miles High. Don't remember how we came up with that name. I think it had something to do with us when we were in Detroit. We saw 7 Mile Road or something like that. We kind of took it off of that. But that's when we started. And so 7 Miles High was the second group I was in.
And really a Cleveland-based group, but you were telling me that you went way north in Canada?
Oh, yeah.
You traveled south. Yeah, talk about the Canadian experience, if you would. I think that's kind of neat.
Yeah, we were booked we had an agent at the time, and he needed a group to go up to James Bay in Canada. And if you know where that is on the map, that's almost to the top of the world, actually. And so we decided to do it. We put our stuff in a little van we had, and we didn't know what we were going to get into, but when we got there, it was a really nice experience. It was the dead of winter, Christmas time, and we ended up playing on a reservation. And I unfortunately don't remember the name of the tribe that we played for, but they really appreciated us, and they had a good time, and they put us, they put us up, and we had a hotel and all that other stuff. They fed us Christmas dinner, which consisted of, I believe we had moose as the main dish, but it was all rather than the turkey, and it was all good. They really treated us nice, so that was a very good experience for us. They had never had a band up there like us, and they really had a good time. We were playing all the dance songs, all the songs that they knew. So we were basically a cover group. So we played a lot of different hit songs that were on the radio. And so yeah, that was a nice experience. And then we've also been as far as down as Pensacola, Florida, and we've been to Louisiana. We've been on the East Coast. Never gone really west, but. Yeah, we've been all over the place, so yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun for about 10 years out of my life.
Now, do you miss those days?
Not at all, Doug, because it was a phase. We were good, and I enjoyed it while I was doing it, but after so long, you decide you want to do things, get your life together, and I met a young lady and I decided, you know what, I think I want to settle down. But before that, I had a job at Atlas Steel, and I want to make sure that they hired me full time before I got married. Once they hired me full time, I got married. So we got married in 1981. So and we're still married and going strong.
Super, super. So there seems to me to be, maybe it's the water in Twinsburg or something, but another famous drummer, Marty Caton, lived in Twinsburg for a number of years, and he was the drummer for Strawberry Alarm Clock.
Yes.
And he was quite an artist also, and a drummer, as you were. Do you think there's a connection between painting art and music art?
I don't know. I think there might be some connection there. There are a lot of musicians who are artists and a lot of artists who are musicians. So I think it just goes to the creative side of people.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I didn't know at the time that I could be an artist. And when I started playing drums, actually, I didn't know I could do that either. So until you start doing things, you don't know. So yeah, you might be onto something there. It's just the creative side of people, I think.
So did you have drum lessons, or you taught yourself how to play drums?
Taught myself just by ear, just like painting. I just kind of picked it up. So if I had pursued it more and really gotten the lesson part of it, probably would have stuck with it a lot longer as far as drumming goes. But, like I said, when you're young and you're out, it's a lot of fun, and you're just enjoying it. You don't think about those things. Then you look back at it and you say, you know what, if I had taken the time to really concentrate and study, could have been a lot better, I think. But yeah, so.
Art is so important to you, and it gives you something. I can tell whenever you talk about art, you kind of get that smile and that look in your eyes. Why is art so important to you, and should it be important to all of us?
Well, I think the thing about art is people always walk up to me and say, I can't do that. I can't even draw a stick figure. And my favorite thing to say to people is, you know what? If everybody could do it, then it wouldn't really be that special, would it? So, not to say that you can't do it, but I just look at it like it makes people feel a certain way when they look at it. It makes me feel a certain way. It's changed my whole life as far as how I look at things when I'm out on the road or traveling or driving somewhere. Now when I look at a sky, I'm saying to myself, that would make a nice sky to paint. So it changes your perspective, and I start thinking to myself when I get ready to paint my next thing, if I can try to capture that scene that I saw. So, and that's where I get some of my ideas and things that I actually see. Now, some of the things that I see that I paint, they come from photographs or a suggestion for people. They'll bring me a photograph. They want me to paint an old barn or something that they have, or a thought in their head, a beach scene or something like that. And that's where I get my ideas from. So I think it just makes people feel a certain way when they see art, and they want to have a piece of that. And I try to come up with it, using my own imagination too, and try to, and people pretty much, they're happy most of the time with what I come up with. So,
I'm sure one of the pictures that I've seen and actually have of yours is of a lighthouse.
Yeah.
Looking through a window. And it reminds me of New England, which is where I'm from. Mm-hmm. And when we were talking about that, you said that it was of no actual place, but kind of your imagination and putting things together.
Right.
And as a native New Englander, do you really hit the mark?
Did I? Well, I mean, I guess in every painting there's something about it that reminds people of somewhere or someplace most of the time when you do it. So when I came up with it, actually I probably came up with the lighthouse first, and then I thought about, well, what if somebody was looking through a window to see it? So, you got to put things together like that, not really knowing how it's going to turn out. And a lot of times it turns out good. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some paintings that I've done that I couldn't let see the light of day because it wasn't good. So, but then again, there's some things that I paint that when I go out to like an art show or something, and I'm not really happy with it, that'll be the one that people like. So I try not to be too judgmental on what I do, but that's the way art works. It depends on what appeals to that person that's looking at it. So, yeah.
You give me a sense every time I'm around you, a sense of calmness and serenity. And it kind of brings my whole self down to a level of calmness and serenity. To what do you attribute that?
I would think mostly the way I am the way I am because I think my dad was like that mostly. So I kind of emulate him a little bit on that part of it. But I just learned that if you approach things more calmly, you can think a little better. Try not to get too hyped up, unless I'm watching my Cleveland sports teams and I get hyped up a lot. But I try to calm down. I go out, grab a paintbrush and something and start just bring myself down. But yeah, I try to be calm, So I hate to. I mean, I don't know how I could really explain where it comes from, but I think just from my dad.
Well, and if you have that sense of inner calmness, that just kind of radiates out, and I think others who are emulating you just, it's peaceful and it feels good.
Yeah, and that's another thing about painting is that it does kind of bring out a peacefulness, not only for me, but in people that are looking at. When people see art, they take themselves to a certain place in that painting, So that's part of it too. Maybe that's why I was drawn to it. But I know, just watching Bob Ross, he gives you that feeling when you're watching him. You can actually almost go to sleep doing it, watching him, but it's so calming when he does it, and he's doing it so effortlessly in less than a half hour. Now, when I paint, it takes me a few hours to do, but
well, and for those folks in our audience who don't know who Bob Ross is, who is Bob Ross?
He's an artist out of Indiana, I believe, and he was on the PBS stations public broadcasting stations, and for years he was on that, and he died not too long ago, but he's, and I think when I say Bob Ross, I think a lot more people know about him than you think, because I see him now where even during Halloween, people are dressing up as Bob Ross with the afro wig and a paintbrush, so you know right away who they're emulating. So yeah, that's where I got my start from, and I'm grateful to that. I'm grateful to public television, actually. Without that, I would never even looked at that as a possibility to get into something like that. So that's it.
Nice. Tony, you're very involved in the community. And for instance, when the Historical Society has an event, oftentimes you're there with your paintings. Well, why is it important to you to be involved in the community?
Well, living here in Twinsburg since I think it was '92, I've got a lot of friends here, especially through going to church here, first Congregational Church on the square here. Met a lot of people. So a lot of my friends are here, and they're involved with the Historical Society. So just kind of naturally gravitated that way. When something was going on, they'd ask me to come around and, show my wares or whatever. And I thought it was a nice way to, get my paintings out there and let people see. So that's why I'm involved with the community. We've done quite a few things around the city. So, and not only here, actually, in Hudson, I was actually in the Hudson Society of Artists a few years back before my father died, and I was actually the vice president of the society, and we would have that art show every year, their art on the square.
On the square, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that was always a big thing. That was a lot of fun too. So, yeah, I'm pretty involved around here. A lot of exciting things go on in the area, and the area's being built up, so it's really nice around here.
Do you think that's something that we all should consider doing, getting involved in the community? It seems like today everyone is in such a hurry that they often don't have time to step back and become involved. But I think you and I probably agree that that is a very important part of life.
Oh yeah, no, without a doubt. You want to get involved with the communities because, like I said, it's your friends, and this is a small area. You see people a lot, and so when you do get involved, it makes you feel good. You're glad to see everybody out here trying to help out. So yeah, I think that's a good thing to become involved in the community.
Now, Tony, you and I have something in common, and you know exactly where this is headed. We both get, shall we say, a bad case of convertible-itis.
Yes.
Every spring.
Yes.
You drive a convertible, I drive a convertible.
Right.
And I know this isn't your first one, nor is mine my first one. What is it about a convertible that draws you to it?
I don't know, but first convertible I had was a 1959 Granville, a Pontiac Granville. And that was the very first one. Not that I did ever want one before, but it's the first one I actually got. And I said, this is pretty nice. So I don't know, it's something about having that top down and the wind blowing through my...
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
That's where we're alike here.
Yeah. Wind blowing through my beard now.
Uh-huh.
So, and then I was actually part of a Pontiac club years ago. Again, I was a vice president of that too. So, and that's when I got involved with cars. So I like Pontiacs. So I drive a Pontiac Solstice, and I actually drive mine year round. But if you take care of it, you could do that. Most people store their cars away, which if I had another garage, maybe I could do that, but I don't. So I drive it. So yeah, I'm a convertible guy, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. So are you. I like your car too.
Absolutely, and I drive mine year round too.
Well,
so
there you go.
You got it. You got it. Tony, let's talk about success. What is your definition of success?
Well, I think if you can look out at your life and see where you've gone and what you've done, I think to me, if you have children, if you see that your children have come out as fine people or good adults or caring people, to me, that shows that you've been successful in your life, regardless of whatever monetary thing you're trying to achieve. If your kids are okay, I think you could say, yeah, I've done all right.
So that kind of leads to a couple of other tips for success that we've talked about. Emulate role models. And that kind of is what we're talking about with kids. If you're a good enough role model and they emulate you and then turn out okay. But talk about emulating role models.
Yeah, I had mentioned my dad before. I keep mentioning my dad, but to me, the way I saw him bringing us up as kids, and the way he treated my mom, and everything, that made me, without him saying it or without me actually thinking it, that made me want to be like that. There was never a discussion that you need to be like your father, nothing like that. Or he never said that. I never said that. But just the way that he was, that kind of guided me to be how I am. So that's what I get from emulating. And then I kind of try to carry that with me with my workload. When I was working, I was a supervisor, and when I would go to work every day. Actually, I never missed a day of work except for when my father passed. And I did that. That was very important for me not to miss work, because it showed other guys, that you shouldn't have an excuse for not coming into work. So work was important to me, and believe me, when I got off work, I was glad to be doing other things too. But while I was working, that's what I was doing. It was a responsibility. So I tried to come into work and show other guys it's not really that hard to get here and do what we do and take care of yourself, and you go home and you come back the next day and you get into a routine. So I never thought of it as actually the time really went by while I was working there. It was really a quick 30 years, if you could believe that. But I never looked at it like, oh my God, I got to go into work today. That's the wrong way to approach it, because you're going to fight yourself every day thinking, I can't get up. No, that's wrong. To me, that was the wrong way to approach it. I looked at it like, I'm going to be on time. I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to get off. And, that's how I approach it. So that's the way I looked at it.
Well, and today's employers just would kill to hire employees like that, because there seems to be a dearth of that kind of work ethic, and it's nice that it goes back to your dad, and obviously you have a great love for him. Right. It's amazing how that parenting can carry down, and I'm sure your kids feel very fortunate to have you as their dad.
Well, they tell me that a lot. So they tell me they appreciate me. And just one other thing about my father, I was talking about me working over 30 years. Well, he worked for over 30 years for Ford Motor Company. So again, that's where I got my inspiration, I guess, without knowing I was being inspired. Mm-hmm. Until you're in that fire, then you say, oh, this is how you do it, because you just think back how your parents did it, So yeah. Yeah, I owe a lot to him, and I owe a lot that, it kind of makes me try to instill that on other people that I meet, or my kids, grandkids now.
Oh my gosh.
So that's where we are.
It's kind of hard to believe, Tony, that you're that old.
Oh, yeah. I'm old, but it's a good old. Yeah, I'm a granddad and love our grandkids. So again, kids turn out all right. I think you've done pretty good for yourself.
I think, is there anything we can say to wrap up that kind of sums up everything that you've just been talking about? Kind of the parenting and the love and the responsibility to doing your part and becoming a role model. And how would you bring that all together?
I don't know. You just want to. I think you just want to be a good example, and if you do all those things, those phases of your life the right way, or try to do it the right way. Don't get me wrong. I'm not perfect, and I don't think anybody is, but try to do those main things the right way. You can be pretty successful in your life. I think, without getting too deep into it, you can get pretty successful with that. That covers a lot of bases. It covers your work. It covers your play. It covers the arts. It covers your kids. It covers everything. So, yeah, if you just try to be that example, try to treat. Go back to this. Try to treat other people the way you want to be treated. Sometimes that works. Sometimes people will treat you the way you want to be treated. So, I'm just one of those guys that try to keep calm, keep people around me calm, and things usually work out like that.
Super. Tony, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, not a problem, not a problem.
And enjoyed the discussion, and I'm sure our audience will too.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. A local post office has been the subject of comments for the past several years. Comments including things like landscaping, potholes in the parking lot, no lines in the parking lot. Speaking of lines, lines inside the post office, out the door. Recently, a friend of mine went into the post office to purchase a strip of stamps. He was quite upset when he was told that there were no stamps available to buy. Now, since 2006, according to the internet, the post office has not made a profit. My thought was that one of the things the post office did was, ready for it? Sell stamps. So the post office has not made a profit for 12 years. Think they're going to make one this year? I think not.